Our newest client just closed on their first ever property, so in today's video, we're gonna go check it out. I'll break down the numbers, how we found it, the exit strategy, and anything else I see at the property. Let's get to it. The numbers on this property are very similar to that deal. I just did a video about the duplex deal for our client Taylor, and we have been finding lately that comps all over our market have just been unbelievable. So a lot of these deals we've been underwriting and getting under contract with are historical comps, you know, how places have been valued over the last 2 years, and we've been seeing in our market, things have been shifting. I think there's more families coming to our market, there's more investors putting money into properties, and appraisals have been coming back stronger, rents have been coming back stronger, and we've been on a run these recent deals, not only for the deals we're picking up for our portfolio, but also the deals that we're passing over to investors that typically we expect the margins to be a little bit closer, but lately they've been better than the deals we've been picking up for our portfolio. It is 105 degrees out today, and this deal, the investor closed on it yesterday for $85,000. We found it for him, sold it to him. In today's video, I'm gonna go through the scope of work, cost of the remodel, what this place is gonna be worth after the remodel is done, what's it gonna rent for, and the exit strategy for this investor. If you're new here, please like and subscribe to see more deals that we buy and our investors buy. Every deal, I'll show you how we find it, purchase price, renovation costs, after repair value, and what it's gonna rent for, as well as the exit strategy. So subscribe and follow along. So this is a pretty big property. It's on the good side of town. Places like this typically are going to rent for a nice military family in our market. So super reliable tenants. They treat the place nice. And interesting thing here, when I first saw these, I thought ADA, because we have this one house, we got a housing voucher for $1,350 per month due to the shower being disabled access. So when I saw that, I immediately thought, oh, this house, the previous owners made disabled access, but then I realized it's not a ramp. So worth looking into, but I think they just put it in there. Housing vouchers, basically getting someone other than the tenant paying for your tenant's rent. Look into them in your market if you're having trouble with collections. You can go the Section 8 route, but also if you make your house disabled access, contact the housing authorities and see what kind of housing vouchers you can get. If you've ever pulled a vacancy list from PropStream or any data provider, this is actually how they find the vacant properties. It's using the US mail data. So they mark it as vacant, and that door is open and I can already smell this place. It's gonna be one of those. Oh my goodness. Oh, definitely had pets in here. Nasty stuff. Something smells disgusting. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it smells terrible in here, but doesn't look too bad. This flooring definitely gonna go. A lot of smell trapped in this floor, I can guarantee. And all of this stuff is trapping some smell. So when you have a stinky rental, the progression of getting rid of the smell, when it's filled with stuff and you take out the stuff, that'll make a huge impact on the smell. Then you're left with just a vacant house and all the floors and walls and ducts, the HVAC system, everything that you can see and touch is still soaking in that smell, but it's not gonna be as pungent. The stuff that really makes your eyes water is when they have rotted stuff inside the house. The fridge is full of stuff and it's just their belongings reek because they're just soaking up smells, or maybe they're left food, stuff like that. But then after that stuff is gone, it's soaked into the walls. And from there, it's pretty simple actually removing the smell, minus if it has central heat and air. So it's flooring, kills paint and primer. Kills paint and primer is so effective at getting rid of smell, it even handles smoke smell. So that's our standard operating procedure to get rid of the smell. And then also all the fixtures and stuff, that'll be making it so where there's not a single trace of stink or funk, is getting all the lights switched, all the fans switched, everything. And then for the actual HVAC system, replacing filters and cleaning it the best you can and seeing where that gets you should handle a lot of it. I've seen a lot of those nasty places, like they just don't replace a filter ever, so the HVAC wasn't even working anyways. So they're using window units, so we just toss the window units, replace the filter, and now the HVAC works again. And they were so nasty that the HVAC wasn't even pumping the nasty air. But as far as getting the nasty smell out of ducts and HVAC, that's a little bit more variable. In our experience, just changing the filter and using a deodorizer handles that. So honestly, like because we're gonna be redoing the floors and everything in this place anyways, don't even need to worry about cleaning once we do the trash out. Let's check out the rest of the property. Wow, this is a bigger kitchen, dining room space than I expected. So I definitely think a lot of the smell is coming from this kitchen. It smells very rotten, like bad food, but really this place looks pretty good. And it's crazy like smelling this and like kind of looking at the shape, like people were living in here less than 2 months ago, but this is a big old kitchen and dining room. This place is gonna rent amazing. So even though this place is in pretty good shape, this is a lot of square footage, so our material cost is gonna be pretty high on this job, even though it's gonna be a pretty simple remodel. And I'll get to all the numbers here in a sec. The power is off. We have not switched on utilities into our name while we're doing the remodel because the investor literally just closed yesterday. But this kitchen is gonna really add a lot of value for the appraisal. So what we're gonna do in here, granite or quartz countertops, always do granite or quartz. And then the cabinets, what we're gonna do honestly is just fix them, new handles and paint. They're simple enough cabinets, they're in good enough shape. We can bring them back to life. And then new light fixtures, new sink from Amazon. And then these lights, I like that, oh, what did I just step in? I like these lights that are here. It's gonna really make it pop. I like how when you have good LED lights hitting quartz, it just really makes the place look so much more modern and clean. And this is just such a large open kitchen. If we really wanted to go all out, we'd throw in an island, but that's the kitchen. And that's what's gonna make it pop the most for not only the appraisal, but for tenants. In our market, a big old kitchen like this, fully done up right, is rare. So our places rent quicker and we can rent more than everyone else because it's rare for landlords to put in effort. About 2 years ago, Antonio and I would have just left this kitchen as is. We've been like, well, it's usable. And we just touched it up a little bit, done like absolutely nothing, slumlord special. But when you do slumlord specials, it's harder to get your money out of deals, harder to get better tenants, and you'll pay for it in the long run. So you'll be stuck with crappier tenants, lower rents, more cash tied in deals. So do not do the slumlord specials unless you are buying sub $50,000 homes that cannot appraise for over 100. All right, I can understand doing a slumlord special. But if you want to maximize the odds of you pulling your cash out of a deal and having good tenants, go all out in the remodel. Now, I'm not talking about, throwing in, like going literally all out, like with a Viking and Wolf appliances and marble countertops. I'm talking about go all out as far as every line item, make it new, reliable finishes. On that, definitely trashing this fridge. I don't even have to open this fridge, and I know it's gonna be nasty. But for you guys, I'm gonna open it. If this camera wasn't here, I would not be opening that because I know every time you have tenants get kicked out and they leave a place like this, the fridge is gonna be 10 times worse than the rest of the house and is probably the source for 50% of the smell right now. Oh, whoa. So we could probably reuse this in some of our crappier places unless, oh, there it is. Oh, darling. Appliances, we'll just verify they work. Honestly, they look decently new. They just they were not taken care of by the tenants. So we'll clean them up, see how well they work and see if we can keep them. Spiders everywhere. And worst case, we get certified refurbished or new appliances. Oh boy, that's so creepy. This is so creepy. Just because I turned the corner, I just saw this bed here and something about like twin size beds or like children's rooms in an all dark house. Look, it's creepy. I'm gonna try to open these up. This thing, I guarantee has bed bugs and all kinds of funk. And also this is probably trapping a lot of the smell. So like I was talking about some of the stuff, getting rid of it, trapping smell, that'll be part of it. But I like this, they were trying to be fun and cute with some hanging eucalyptus, all for it. So you could tell I was not that involved in the closing on this property, but I would assume this looks kind of like an eviction situation. So typically evictions, tenants move out quicker and they leave a lot more stuff behind and they're not even thinking about getting that deposit back. So they're like, screw it, we'll trash the place when we move out. So they'll leave a lot of stuff. I don't know what is on the wall right here, bro. Skip this part if you don't want a gross story, but it's on my Instagram, but there's a place we own on Sedalia that skip this part if you don't want to hear a gross story or a sad story, so just skip it. It was a Section 8 house with, I believe, 8 children living in there and 1 mom. It was only a 4-bed house, 2 bathroom. It was 1 mom, 8 children, and the mom definitely strung out, and in the process of us trying to buy it, we couldn't even walk the property. The mom would make up excuses as far as why we can't access it. After we purchased property and saw the condition, it became very clear that the mom didn't want us to walk it because we would have called CPS. At the time, I had a girlfriend who was studying psychology and working with children, and I explained some of the stuff I saw at the property in that the children's room, they were drawing on the wall with, and I brought that up. I showed her the videos because I was walking the place, and that's when it's literally a textbook phenomenon when kids do not have enough stimulation, things to play with. So it's a really sad story, but that right there, I hope it's not what I think it is, but I've seen really rough situations with these houses, and that was probably the roughest in that the kids were so bored and neglected that they resort to that to entertain themselves. And we bought that house, trashed it out, cleaned it, painted it, and the people living in there have no idea. That's why I really encourage you for your earliest parts of your investing career to walk the properties you're buying and understand the situations of some of these tenants or even sellers that are in just bad spots, because it's really informative. If maybe you grew up, you never were around rough situations, it really can open up your mind. It gives you perspective and can give you gratitude. And also in my case, like any of the houses that we've walked that have been blatantly horrible situations with the children have forever changed my perspective on people in poverty and how it's a cycle, as in when I see the situation these kids are growing up in, how do they ever have a shot? For example, one of the places we walked, there were like rotisserie chicken carcasses all over the children's bedroom and all over the house. Like literally, you could not walk through the house without moving trash out of the way. And there were kids living there. There were people living there. And literally the worst smelling house ever. So this one was a little stinky, but that place made my eyes water immediately. And the part that got me was when I go to the children's room and I'd see they had like drawings from school, but then also they were living in absolute filth. These kids are living in this, sleeping in this, and then they're going to school and expected to be a kid. My point with all this is, if you're starting to invest in real estate, regardless of your background, understand the situations of the distressed sellers or even tenants that have a bad landlord or tenants that are just in rough situations, because I think it gives you perspective on buying low-income housing, what it comes with. I just think it gave me a little bit more empathy. It's very annoying having a low-income tenant trash your property, but when you see that a lot of these low-income tenants grew up in low income and you see how a lot of them live, it gives you a little bit more perspective on all of it. Keeps you more grounded and connected to what you're doing. Properties are more scalable when they're in a spreadsheet, but I think it's important for you to have an understanding what it's like out there. But I digress. I'm not here to talk about that. I've been screwed by many tenants, and I just think the fact that I've seen rough situations helps me keep a little bit of empathy, because a lot of these people just don't know better. They weren't raised better. They were raised in situations like that. So when I get screwed over by a low-income tenant, I think, shoot, they might have been raised in a situation like that and they just literally didn't know better. So it's on me to vet tenants better, maybe even educate tenants. I've had a property manager that will educate tenants on basic financial literacy and responsibility of cleaning a house. So before you absolutely lose your mind because you get screwed by a low-income tenant, just take a breath. And, I think hyper accountability is good. Quick heads up, I accidentally left my mic off for the next two clips, so the audio is a little weird, but I eventually do turn it back on. As far as next steps on this remodel demo, we trash it out. We'll check the essential systems like cammering the sewer line, checking the electrical, all of that. Roof is good, we just need to replace some soffit. Basically, if the roof wasn't good, the first thing we do after we trash out, essential system and do the roof. Because the roof gives a nice dry shell, we want to make sure it has a dry shell, because then when it sits vacant, that's the first thing you need to do to make sure your property doesn't fall apart. A good amount of stuff in here. Cool suit, Not too bad. I've had much worse places. But here is the scope of work and the prices. Total price, material and labor for both bathrooms, $6,000, now cover tile, shower kit, toilet, vanity, mirror, lights. $6,000 for two bathrooms. Here's the other one. Tile shower, new shower kit. It's broken, as you can see. See, it's broken shower. This mirror will probably need new lights. And then vanity, we most likely will just put a new sink kit in. Here is the master bedroom. Pretty big master bedroom. Not bad. It's got its own bathroom. None of these houses in our market have really crazy bathrooms or walk-in closets, just because it's a renter's market and a lot of these houses are old. But this house has a lot of square footage. I really like this living room, but let's go through all the line items. So here's the full scope of work. I pause the video as needed, but I'm gonna rip through the rest of the line items. Here is the entire scope of work as bidded. Roof, we actually don't have to replace, just fascia and soffit repair. Interior doors, just replacing, it's cheap. Light fixtures from Amazon. Light switches and outlet covers from Amazon. Water heater we will be replacing. HVAC is fine, we'll just tune it up. And like I talked about earlier, appliances we will either clean really well or replace to go brand new. But all in all, nothing too crazy with this remodel. Again, no major line items like roofs. Most expensive parts are gonna be the bathrooms and kitchen, getting them up to date, and then just the raw square footage, getting this remodel up to $60,000. I didn't even realize this is an entire extra bedroom. It has a bathroom and everything. I didn't even realize. It smells absolutely terrible in here. started it. It smells like poop, literally. But very cool. It goes right up to the attic. So now you know the scope of work. I'm gonna end the video by showing you guys how we underwrite every single deal we buy with just a simple spreadsheet like this. So we went over the $60,000 renovation. The purchase price on this deal was $85,000. It was off market. The first part of our underwriting is figuring out if this deal qualifies for the 75% rule, as in, will we be able to get all our cash out of the deal, or will we be able to pay off any hard money or private money at the end of the value add remodel. So for this deal, purchase price 85, renovation 60,000, closing cost $2,000. I'm throwing in here lender fees and holding costs because the investor for this deal is using a hard money product, so where he only has to put 10% down, but on the next deal he doesn't have to put any money down. So with this hard money product that we use with our investors, if you want to be one of those investors, link below. The hard money product he uses requires on the first deal you do 10% down, all deals after that, just closing and title fees. With those added in, we're at $153,000. I'm going to go through this example with these fees thrown in, and I'm going to take them out and show you guys the difference it makes as far as the actual ROI on the deal. So ARV we have at 200. We're aiming to get a $190,000 to $200,000 ARV. Because of the square footage and the area, we're very confident in this. As you can see, the extra bedroom, I didn't even notice in the first walkthrough of the house, adds tremendous value to this property. The 75% rule. Odds are, if you've been doing real estate for any period of time, you've come across a 75% rule. Here's why that rule matters. At the end of this value add remodel, he is out of pocket $153,000. Now, a portion of this is not coming out of his actual pocket, it's coming out of lending, but mechanically, he's all in $153,000, even if basically the $85,000 and $60,000 is coming out of the lender's pocket. He has to pay them back at the end of it. So for the sake of underwriting the deal, he is out of pocket $153,000. So ARV 200, 75% of 200 is 150,000. Take out the back end refinance fees of about 3,500 bucks. Has cash to borrower 146,000. So he is all in 153,000. He is getting back 146,000, meaning he'll have $7,000 left in the deal, or $7,000 out of pocket at the end of everything. You might be thinking, then why did you guys buy it? It doesn't work as a 75% rule deal. Well, if I remove the lending and holding fees, then it works because he is all in 147, pulling out 150 minus closing costs, basically exactly what he put in as a 75% rule. What this shows you is that if you are a true cash buyer, your buying criteria can be wider. There's more deals you can go after because you don't have to factor in lending and holding fees to make the deal work. With that, if you are using hard money, focus on if it fails the 75% rule, as in you have cash left in the deal, figure out what your cash on cash return is. Here's how you figure out your cash on cash return. Yearly profit. I just realized in this spreadsheet, I put mortgage plus taxes and insurance for the one line item. That line item, the 997, is just the mortgage, taxes, insurance below, so typo. First, let me show you how I calculate a yearly profit. Rent, we estimate for this place to be $1,650. It's a big old house. It's gonna be brand new. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be on the high end of things in our market. Mortgage, taxes, and insurance, I did 7% 30-year on 150,000. Next is taxes. Taxes for this property, 141 per month, like 1,700 bucks a year, correct? Insurance, about $1,200. We have a really good insurance broker, so we can get it down to this. We've had to fight with insurance companies and underwriting a few times to get the right policy, the bare minimum policy to satisfy underwriting for the refinance and get us just the bare minimum coverage to make sure the property still cash flows. Guys, extremely important. Don't just use the biggest insurance provider in your market. Seek out a broker, because bidding out your insurance and finding cheaper insurance literally can make the difference between a deal cash flowing and not cash flowing. So find an insurance broker. You can find them on Facebook. Property management, 10% of rent. You could probably get it down to 8% if you negotiate with your property managers or shop around, throwing in 10% because the property manager he's using is at 10% right now until he has more doors. He's using our property manager, and with our property manager, until you have at least 10 doors, doesn't like to go below 10%. Maintenance repair reserves. This is just setting aside 5% of your monthly rent collected for repairs, just expecting things to come up. Even if you go 2 months of no repairs, still set aside those funds for anticipating bigger repairs in the future. Lastly, vacancy. This is a big old single family house. I anticipate a military family moving into it and staying there for 3 to 5 years. So vacancy rate for a property like this, very low. If it was multifamily, I would put it higher. That puts us at $113 a month in cash flow. So his yearly profit, $1,300, which doesn't sound like very much, but remember, he's only out of pocket $7,000. So after the refi, he's only out of pocket $7,000, making his cash on cash return about 20%. And then guys, the other ways he is winning on this deal is the debt pay down. Every single time this mortgage gets paid, it is principal and interest. So he's making a payment towards principal. So his equity is going up, his debt is going down. On top of it, the value of the home is going up. So debt going down, value of home going up, appreciation year over year. The tax shield, he can depreciate the property. And there's also the concept of debt inflation, meaning he's taking on this debt today with strong US dollar. The value of the dollar is going down. However, the dollar amount of his debt is staying the same. So as the dollar gets weaker, it's still paying down the strong dollar debt. So fast forward 10 years, when the dollar is significantly weaker, it is paying down strong dollar debt. It's kind of a hard concept to explain. I talked about it on my Instagram, but you can look up what debt inflation is. It is a good thing. As the value of the US dollar is going down, it is actually benefiting him paying off his debt. A lot of investors are happy with deals that they cash flow more than $50 a month, or even like as slim as like $20 a month, because there's other ways you're winning on the deal. And another thing to look at is he's all in 153. This property's worth 200 grand. On his balance sheet, his net worth has gone up by 50 grand in the span of 3 months. Yes, $1,300 a year sounds like very little, but this one deal has increased his net worth by 50 grand, and that increase in wealth was a non-taxable event. So that is why the BRRRR method, deals like this, are so effective at creating wealth and scaling wealth. It's not because of the cash flow, it's because of the value add aspect that's a non-taxable event. Every single deal we touch is increasing our net worth by 50 grand. We do 4 deals a quarter, that's 200 grand to our net worth every quarter, non-taxable. That is a non-taxable event. Yes, we have that debt, but again, it's 75% of the property's value. So by definition, we're not over leveraged. And yes, the argument is like the market can go down, but that's why we invest in really stable markets backed by industry or military bases. So a really flatline market with minimal appreciation, but most of all, stability. The cash flow really takes hold after you've owned the property for a few years, you've had some rent increases, and then you start to feel the cash flow. But please, if you're a new BRRRR investor, don't get hung up on the cash flow. Look at your balance sheet. Look at that you're actually growing your net worth. That's it for today's video. Guys, if you want to see the completed follow-up, please subscribe and turn on notifications. If you want to do a deal like this where we bring you into our market, we do the remodel for you, our title company handles the closing, we connect you with our lender, we do the remodel for you, we manage it for you long-term, you get access to our GM, and we provide you with a CPA if you don't have an accountant. Please click the link below. It's not a course, it's not a mentorship, it's a done-for-you service. And then as always, like, comment, be nice, be mean, don't care. Let me know what you want to see more of. And thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Bye.